back, episode 13. Last time we tried recording the episode and it didn't work out because I forgot the mixer. So we had to delay it for 1 week and now we're back.
We just went out for ramen instead.
Fair. And that was actually pretty good ramen. So some of the news might be a little bit outdated, as some of these were a little bit more, let's say, time sensitive, but others are actually just timeless pieces of beauty.
Yeah. I updated mine, thankfully.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we're going to have some fresh news and some important news for you.
Yes, and the main topic of today that we're going to discuss is competitive branding and marketing examples, and we also have some definitions and some stories.
But first, if you know how this podcast usually works, we go into the weird news from the internet, some funny bits, and then a little bit of tech news or marketing news, and then we dive into the main topic.
Indeed. Go ahead.
I mean, my funny thing from the internet was hackers took over RoboVax to chase pets and yell slurs.
That's nice.
A bunch of hackers figured out how to make like the Ecovax D-Bot X2 Omni robot vacuums just start yelling slurs inside a house and chasing around pets. So the outlet spoke with multiple D-Bot X2 users who say that their D-Bot X2s had been hacked in May, including a lawyer from Minnesota who was watching TV with his family when noise, like a broken up radio signal or something, burst through his robot vacuum and started coming from the speaker. He said he reset his password and rebooted the robot, but it began again, only this time the sound was clearly a voice. He guessed teenagers yelling slurs.
Man, this is great. I love this type of stories because you can challenge any kind of company. You have all these crypto kitties, I think they call them, the ones who don't actually know how to hack, but they find like a manual or instruction or copy paste the code. And now with ChatGPT, you can clearly say, hey, help me to hack this. And that's it.
You're actually right. This is going to become even more widespread with how easy this information is.
Some years ago, I think it was 2017 or 18, I went to a cybersecurity week in The Hague, and there they said that there's already a huge shortage of cybersecurity experts. So everyone's building innovation, startup mentality, tech bros, but no one actually secures anything.
Oh, yeah. Security is the first thing that gets cut from any company. Surprisingly, they're like, that'll never happen to us.
Exactly, until it does. The same thing with lawyers, right? We don't need a lawyer because we're safe. It's
same thing with lawyers, same thing with insurance, same thing with...
Terrible.
Yeah. But, companies, please secure your stuff. Also, don't build stuff that is easily hackable.
By teenagers.
Oof.
I have one as well for you. Have you heard of the sub simulator?
I have not.
So, first of all, I want to introduce you to the dead internet theory. So, this is a conspiracy theory that suggests that significant portion of the internet is populated by bots, automated content, artificial intelligence, rather than real human users. So, the proponents believe that since around 2016 or earlier, genuine human activity online has been largely replaced by algorithms and generated content created by governments like Russia on Twitter, spam bots, corporations, and other entities that manipulate public opinion and consumer behavior. So basically, the supporters of the theory, they say that now, due to sophisticated AI that is being released, and that it also passed the Howey test,
the Turing test,
or the Turing test. Sorry, so the Turing test.
A slight digression before you continue. The Turing test is severely outdated. Machines from the 70s could technically beat it.
Yeah?
Because all the Turing test is that you have two people have a conversation, and a third person watching will not be able to guess which one is human and which one is a robot.
Why is it outdated? I think it's still quite valid, no?
It's really easy to trick humans.
Well, apparently now it's very easy. It doesn't mean that technology gets more sophisticated. We also get dumber. We spoke about that.
I mean, it's just that the Turing test is widely overestimated how well human beings can identify non-human writing. So, I mean, I fall prey to some GPT stuff all the time. It's not like I'm saying we should be so much smarter. It's just that we see text, we assume it's human because that's all we're used to.
That's also true. So I do agree. And this theory of the dead internet theory basically was put to a test. So on Reddit, there's r/subsimulator GPT-2. So it was launched in October 2023. The whole subreddits where automated bots simulate posts and comments from various Reddit communities. So for example, using GPT-2 model. So for example, each bot represents a different subreddit, like r/ask me anything, or am I the asshole, or 4chan, or r/motivation. So these multiple subreddits, they have a personality, and they are kind of commenting and posting everything on this sub-simulator GPT-2. The purpose of the subreddit showcase how AI can imitate human conversation and subreddit cultures. User can read, observe the AI-generated interactions, but they cannot post or comment themselves. So all the content produced there are basically bots, simulated, no human posting allowed, and diverse range of bots. And to add to this specific example, there was a test not so long ago, I think last year, how much traffic online is actually bot activity. And it was discovered, I think it was over 40%, I think 40 to like 47% was actually bot traffic. So indexes, trackers, scrapers, and so on. So technically, this theory is becoming more real as there's more and more bot traffic online. And as soon as it's over 50, could you say that majority of the internet is actually bot activity?
I mean, it's hard to say no, because anybody who works in an office has thousands of bots that they use on a daily basis. Even a VPN is kind of a bot. It's something as simple as that.
Right? So it basically goes to different proxies and connects to give a new connection. So 40%, more than 40%, definitely.
Yeah. I'd like to see their definition of bot and how much they're narrowing it down or how much they're expanding it, because it can be difficult. If they're just tracking bot as a very general term, then that would be a lot. But if they're tracking bot as in something that's outputting content, then I don't think it's that much, but it's still a high amount.
I think it was a very wide interpretation of bots, because they said scrapers, they said analytics, they said just traffic indexicate, like if you have like the index bots, right, that to put on Google or Yandex or whatever, or Yahoo. So all these are bots that are going through the internet all the time. Then you have a Google mobile bots, you have Google desktop bots, you have SEMrush as well, SEMrush bot, mobile SEMrush bot, general SEMrush bot that scrapes JavaScript. So these are all bots that are running on your website every day.
Even things like Buffer, yeah.
As well, same, yeah, of course.
You can just set up Buffer to send a post every week. That's kind of botting stuff.
Yeah, technically logs in, creates a post and publish through API. But anyway, it is activity that is simulated. Yeah. So, and on top of this, so dead internet theory, sub-simulator, there was an app released that is called Social AI. So this is a new app that allows users to interact with millions of AI followers, customizing their engagement based on moods. So basically, this is out of one subreddit that I like. It's called the main character, r/main character. So it's a main character syndrome where users think that they're the main character and this artificial show is around them. So if they come into this and they say, hey, I want to play a role as I'm sad, or I want to be ego boosted, or I want people to empathize with me. So whatever people set up the social AI, social media, that's the way it's going to interact. So if you're complaining, they're going to support you. If you want them to bully you, and there were some people, I guess, online that basically started programs all the AI to bully them. So anything they say, they would come up with jokes and insults and so on. So it was very funny, but it gets traction. That's the scary part.
The bullying them, that's the one I think is the most interesting of all these interactions. I don't want to be supported by AI. I want to hear some funny roasts.
Yes, and you can come in and use it as a journal. So the app basically is compared to journaling, but instead of writing a diary, people now can engage with AI-generated responses and comments. And this is reminding the Black Mirror reality. right? Where it's like a dystopian scenario referencing like the dead internet theory that now everything's fake.
I haven't seen that one, but I think like, who is this for? We go on social media to socialize, not to talk to robots. But I think at this point, so many companies are just slapping AI into a thing and just like it's just like sort of throwing stuff at the wall until something sticks, and they're just like, here, maybe this will be $1 billion venture.
I'm pretty sure, but that's what the news I read. They basically piggybacked from the fact that it is the main character syndrome. It is people who need engagement and they don't get it, so they're faking it. I was reading somewhere on r/ChatGPT where a very old guy said that ChatGPT was basically a savior for him in a way of conversation, because he said, I'm having conversations with ChatGPT for the last 7 months. He said, my wife died he's like 70 or something. So it's a very old dude. So his wife passed away. He was very lonely. He basically started chatting with ChatGPT, complaining, offloading. And he said, ChatGPT gave me so much valuable advice and how to cope and how to act and so on. So he basically said that ChatGPT helped him to avoid depression, and saved him from loneliness. And then you have an app that basically does exactly that, but only for making you the main character and giving you some ego boost and supporting you and whatnot, but in a way that you program it to.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't make too much of that because I think a lot of people say like, oh, this online community helped me cope. Googling something or writing a blog helped me cope. It's just another technology. I don't think there's something that's specific about ChatGPT that makes it better at that, aside from the conversational style that you can engage with it and that you can't with Google.
I understand what you mean. However, this is about an old guy, which makes me a little bit less skeptical. So
I mean, but that's what dumb. The old people do this all the time. What if they get into communities and they get into all sorts of niche internet platforms and so on.
But it was very lonely. So he's like, ChatGPT helped me to answer all my questions and complaints and gave me advice.
I mean, you can do that with a subreddit as well.
That's also true, though. with the real people.
Yeah, but that's just what I mean. The conversational model that ChatGPT brings in is the only reason this would be different than getting into an online platform or something.
Maybe because it's not instant replies on communities and subreddits, which might be a little bit of a, like, oh no, I'm not going to post because last time I posted, I did not get a like. I did not get a comment. It took forever to someone to reply. And it was a post by a Fortune ChatGPT. So that might be as well why this might get traction. It's just instant gratification, like for anything you say. Do you have another piece of news?
Yep, I got a bit. Here's a tip for people who aren't enjoying Google's AI answers.
Gemini?
Yeah. So you can just, at the end of your searches, you can just write -AI and it'll remove the AI answers.
Really?
Yeah, apparently it works. Somebody demonstrated it on this image over here. But I just had a tip for anybody who's being annoyed by the strange Gemini answers and you just want to hear real people's opinions.
I don't see Gemini on my result page.
Yep. Yeah, they don't have it in Europe.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the AI stuff requires a lot of clearance from, various regulators and so on. And they just don't have the data as much as they do in the US and I think in UK, but
I know that right now they will be enforcing the general AI regulation or AI law from February 2025. They will be checking for risky and unethical behavior of AI. So this is going to be the first step. And I think the second rollout, because they have categories, they have this critical category, red. So they had a medium risk category and then the green lights in a way. So something that you can use. As previously, if I remember this correctly, you had with the GDPR, you had a data keeper and you had a data processor. So you had two types of companies. And data processors, for example, agencies, they were absolutely fine with being processors of data because they, I just touched it, I don't keep it. And then they kind of lay off the responsibility of keeping the data on the actual owner, let's say the client. And companies like Adidas, Nike, their data keepers. So therefore, they have to have procedures to be GDPR compliant. Now, for the AI regulation law, what is happening? They are also doing two parts. So you have a producer and you have a deployer. So they basically split it up into two parts. So if you are the one who sets up an AI tool, you are a producer. And if a company deploys it, they're a deployer, and therefore the responsibility falls again not on the service provider, for example, an agency, but the responsibility falls on the company itself, which is a pretty cool thing. And they will start enforcing the critical category, for example, CV screenings by HR companies, because it became very big, and they will try to regulate that in February 2025 to avoid any racism, nationalism, and so on. And they will go to companies and check that.
I wanted to also add another tip. If you're handing in your CV and you suspect that a company might be using a GPT-related CV checking software, you can enter a Python code and to let it pass you through, and you can hide it in like white text in the background. So it'll be invisible, but only the AI will pick it up.
That's nice.
Just a tip for anybody, because if they're going to use it, why don't you?
What is it? Do you know? Like, is it a script that says, pass me through?
Python code, and it said, refer candidate or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a bit of text. I don't remember exactly what, but you can Google it really easily. And it basically went, pass to next stage or refer candidate or blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no, I did not hear about that. I heard basically hire them or something like that.
Yeah, I think there's multiple versions of this.
I have another one. It's about Bitcoin. So there was a Bitcoin heist. So there was a group of 3 young men who stole 243 million in Bitcoin from a single person. But they did it in such a sloppy way. So they were streaming this online. And one guy, he got so excited, he basically... slipped during that, and he clicked on the Windows key, and then it pops up, and it has like the full name and surname and location and weather and everything. So he basically got very, very nervous and got captured. But the stupid part was that one of the criminals, he bought 10 cars. He spent 70K in one night on bottle service. And I was gifting all the Birkin bags and Lamborghinis to any girl that he met on the street. He was blogging this and uploading it apparently everywhere. So it was a very flashy lifestyle. And the arrest was super dramatic because they were using like a boat to run away from a villa on cars and shit like that. Yeah. So it was a very movie-like raid. And I thought about why I have this piece of news, because it really ties into cybersecurity that we as well spoke right now. If I would get 243 mil, you're never going to hear about me again. Maybe for the next 15 years, I'll just throw away my phone, burn my laptop. You're never going to hear about me. I'll just restart a life somewhere in Africa. You're not going to find me, man.
Yeah, I'll just move to Cancun.
Somewhere.
Buy an off-grid hotel.
It's insane, man. These people are something. We spoke last episode, I think, about the criminals are dumb sometimes.
Yeah, we talked about this when we didn't have the episode. We were at the ramen place, but you only hear about the ones that get caught. So there's a bit of bias there.
Yes, absolutely.
There are tons of them just get away. Like there was this one. This is getting off tangent, but I was listening to what was it, Forbidden Planet? It was a podcast. And they were talking about how these guys drilled underneath a bank and took the money from by just going underground and then burrowing underneath, and just stole a vault full of cash. And the statute of limitations on that passed, and they literally cannot be arrested for it.
What does it mean? Like this?
The statute of limitations?
Yes,
that's literally in the US and the UK. Definitely, this applies. After 18 years, you cannot be charged for a crime. The first initial charges have sort of been put in front of the police.
That's pretty cool.
Alex is very excited about all the things he can get away with.
So now, if they catch me anytime, I'm like, 18 years passed, sorry. Have you heard of the Chase Money glitch?
I have not.
So Chase Money Glitch exposed. So basically, it's about stupid influencers. So what happened? There's a bank that is called Chase Bank in the US. And basically online, there was a bunch of videos that went super viral that involves people writing themselves a huge check, going into the ATM, sticking it in, and then getting the money out. And they thought that it's a glitch. And some influencer or influencers, they did that and showed to the internet, look, it's a glitch. I could just put a fake check into the ATM and then it's going to give me back the money. And they called it the money glitch, but in reality, they were scamming themselves because they were committing, basically financial fraud.
Yeah.
Because when they put the check, it is not verified yet, but it gives you the money and then it gets verified. So people would do that, withdraw 50K, go to bed, wake up, and they have their bank account obviously blocked. They get police already like calling them and say, hey, did you lose your card? Maybe there's some sort of fraud. But yeah, they basically Nigerian prince scammed themselves, resulting in debt, potential prison time, and actually ruined credit scores. And they basically was criticized as the dumbest scam possible, so people don't know that they were committing check fraud.
This is kind of like going to a bank and saying, hey guys, I found out a new money glitch. And then like take out a loan on 15% interest and then take another loan and pretend it's infinite money.
Yeah, it's literally Nigerian prince themselves.
All right, I'm quickly gonna cover this one and cover another one very quickly. So we can move on to the final topic.
Deal.
Unless you had something.
No.
Okay. So Netflix beat its subscriber targets by putting in the advertising tier.
I think I told you about this before, right? I think I told you about this a few months ago that it will come. And here you are.
Oh, yeah. This was one of the things where I was like, I kind of disagreed, but, at the same time, I'm like, yeah. But I always thought people would prefer pirating to watching Netflix with ads.
Coincidentally, this week I was reading a few reports about Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, and it was like Apple TV or something like that.
Yeah.
And they were having surveys and asking people, what would you do or what would make you move from, or like what were your actions or what would you do if a platform integrated ads? And everyone responds, the majority of the responses was, I will move if they implement ads or if the shows are garbage. However, when the implementation was done, more than 40, I think it was like in the 40s, 40% did not move. They increased their subscription. 7% decreased their subscription, and only like 4% left the streaming service. So in reality, what people responded that they will cancel and they will go away and they will do something, but in reality, they just pay the extra, move up the level, and then don't do anything that they said.
Yeah, people overestimate how much action they'll take. They'd prefer to be exactly where they are.
Yeah, but that's what they said. Like, they were very, very firm on what they're going to do, but that's exactly the opposite of what they did.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They overestimate their own... they underestimate their laziness, I guess, is more like it.
Fair.
Because at the end of the day, you're like, I'm paying for it anyway. I might as well keep it.
On Netflix, try guessing what is the biggest consumer group, so the audience.
What is it?
It's male, 35 plus, 10% of top earners, and they have a kid.
Huh.
And they live in urban environments. So that is the main target group. And apparently, the richest group is on Netflix. But when you look at shows, I think Amazon Prime was the following streaming platform, and it had actually better ratings of shows than Netflix. So that was also a very interesting finding. That's all I have.
All right. So my last one was a bit of cheery news. Apparently, cozy games.
What is that?
So these are games like Animal Crossing, Unpacking, or Stardew Valley.
Okay. I like Stardew Valley. That's pretty cool.
Apparently, they are pretty good for coping with mental health issues. A study by a mental health charity talked about how it's a good way of practicing mindfulness.
I understand why. Have you played those games?
Yeah, there are a lot of very, very briefly.
So I know that during COVID, the Animal Crossing was peak on Nintendo and everyone was playing it for a very simple reason that it just spend time with friends because you apparently visit farms, you have to like cultivate stuff, catch animal. Like it's very slow, it's very chill, it's with friends. The level up is basically, look, I got a new hat or something like that. And Stardew Valley is very similar because there's a lot of stuff you have to do and it takes time and it probably just like makes you care about something else. You know how they say some people cope with anxiety and depression by like working, workaholics. Someone goes drinking, which is again not a good part. But others, they go into like, I'm gonna run 15 marathons this year. This midlife crisis stuff, but that allows and helps them. Or some people just go gaming or watch TV. So it's basically a distraction. So I see how this practicing mindfulness is kind of cool because it's a very slow paced game with friends and there's not a lot of action with.
Yeah. I mean, I play Tekken and that's bad for my mental health.
So push all the buttons at the same time.
I think I'm toxic. I beat people and then I teabag.
I remember when I was playing League of Legends, I think I was the angriest I ever have been in my life.
Yeah. I used to go to like LAN cafes back in the day when we used to play Dota.
Yeah.
And people were like at each other's throats if you fought
animals.
I don't think those competitive games are very good for your mental health, especially not if you're a teenager.
I agree.
It just brings to mind that old meme I saw when I was a kid. You know, the like German kid who smashed his keyboard?
Yes. And I think there were 2 videos of him or something. Yes, I remember. So we move to the main topic.
We shall.
So the main topic, to remind, it's competitive branding and marketing examples. So I thought about this topic quite a lot, and it's a very complicated topic. You can make it as complicated as you want, I realized, and as simple as you want.
Yeah, there's also the issue of like, how do you define it as competitive? Because all marketing is kind of competitive.
Right, so actually, we can start with the definition. I like doing this now. Every time we have a podcast, to have a definition of something because it puts us on the same page.
I was hoping you did.
So I did. So the definition, competitive branding refers to the efforts the company makes to distinguish its products or services from competitors. Competitive marketing involves tactics used to outperform competitors in attracting and retaining customers. So the objective normally is, the primary goal is to create a unique value proposition that resonates with the target audience, making the brand the preferred choice over others. So, and it's important nowadays to have this because market saturation, because there are just too many things, too many brands. The consumer empowerment, so it has to be access to information that empowers consumers to make informed choices in our age of overload of information. And globalization is the other one because now you can sell all around the globe. So you can create a service online and everyone in the world can use it if it's not, an actual physical product. Right. Do you agree with this?
Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty good definition, and that it's just narrow enough that our examples work, because you risk falling into that whole trap of, well, is this competitive or is this just standard marketing? There's always that issue because all marketing is about setting yourself apart from the competition, at least to some extent.
And nowadays, I also Googled a lot, and the same examples pop up again and again and again. And I was very unhappy first, and I thought of, there is this old way of doing branding. And examples are Coca-Cola and Pepsi, Apple and Microsoft, Nike, Adidas. And I'm like, this is boring as hell.
I wanted very specific campaigns. That's where I went.
I did exactly the same.
Awesome.
Right. So let's hope it's not overlapping. I'll name a few traditional ones because it's a classic. So Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So they had a few marketing tactics. They had for Pepsi blind taste test.
Yeah.
So that's the one that pops up everywhere. So it was a Pepsi challenge aimed to prove superiority in taste. And what Coca-Cola did was the Santa Claus advertising. That's the one I know from childhood.
Yeah.
That Santa Claus is driving with a big truck into your neighborhood. Then the other example is Apple versus Microsoft. And this is the one I hate because any boomer I meet at any meeting is doing this. He's like, well, we want to be Apple. Have you seen Apple websites? Like, dude, you're not Apple. You're selling, I don't know, socks. You cannot be Apple. So Apple, it's about simplicity. This pisses me off. This is on a personal note.
I mean,
it says who I have an Apple computer that I'm holding right here.
Hey, look, just because they've inspired obnoxious people to be obnoxious doesn't mean they don't have good products.
That's also true.
I'll give Apple this, as much as like I'm not an iPhone person, honestly, but I'll give Apple this. They're one of the few tech companies that knows when to quit.
I don't know. Well, I don't know.
They did the VR thing, and now they're like, you know what, it didn't work.
Yes, totally. It's just overpriced, man. It's insane. But also what they did right now, there was a release of the new iPhone. I have no idea, 16 or something. But it was not phenomenal. And what was it? Huawei or someone who created this threefold? Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Threefold. Crazy.
There's an interesting thing that's going on with this ties into competitive advertising as well. Or competitive marketing. We're running into an area where people don't see all too much difference between smartphones that they buy. So all these companies are jumping into trying to put in all these features, get fold phones and all this stuff, just to have something new to push on the table. But Apple's strategy, in my opinion, has been, you know what? It's an iPhone. It's just better specs than last time. Here, have it. Which I think is less risk for the consumer. You know what you're getting. With something like a Fold or like the new Razor or something, what's going to happen is you're going to be like, do I want to switch my entire mode of how I open and navigate my smartphone? Or do I want something functional? So I kind of get where they're coming from on that one. And I think it could be a smart strategy, but we'll have to wait and see.
Right, but you're talking about actual functionality. But their marketing for Apple, I think, did not change for a long time. So they have these people who are locked into the system and they just go with it. I still do not agree that I have to change, because I had to change my phone because my phone, that one is lagging. And it was lagging for 1.5 years, even though it's only 3 years old.
Yeah, I'm locked into the Samsung environment in the same way. I got it's got all my passwords in it, and the easy transfer is just so much more convenient.
I totally am on board with you. I just don't like the fact that they sell you something super unique by making the previous fine version lag. Or they just like, oh, innovation, we're going to release all these cool applications that are not going to work on your phone anymore. Can you just make my phone work for the next 5 years so that I have to buy a new one?
Yeah, planned obsolescence is honestly an evil tactic. Every company practices it.
So,
yeah, there are phones that are in my house back home.
Rotary phones, the landlines?
Not even those. Like the Nokia 3310, still working.
Man, I think I still have it though.
Right?
Yeah.
It's still working somehow. They were built to last.
Well, but I actually wrote here potential pitfalls and ethical considerations. And as I'm going to skip a few examples, but as we were talking about Apple, they do have not false advertising, but very vague advertising, because it's faster. Show me. And they're like, well, it's faster because we did a very tiny thing, not because the microchip is new or something. So for me, that falls into false advertising. So they're basically...
I don't particularly agree entirely.
Tell me.
Here's the difference. I remember there was this time where people were really complaining. Oh, Apple is saying its phone is faster than blah 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 phone that was released at the same time.
Yeah.
But look at this one; it has a better processor. But that turned out to be a bit of a false equivalency. What happened was Apple's phone was still faster because their software is better integrated into their own hardware since they produce both.
I see.
What happens is Apple also does software improvements in a way that a lot of other phone companies cannot do because they don't own the proprietary software that they're going to be using. Android is owned by somebody else.
That's a good point.
So we don't know what they did. Maybe if it's faster, you'd have to see yourself. It might be a software change. It might be a hardware change. I'm not saying this to defend Apple. I have some very choice words for them on other things, but this was a thing that a lot of people were really getting mad about on the internet that they really shouldn't have been getting mad about.
I was part of those because I just don't like Apple.
Yeah. I try to be fair towards certain companies.
Yeah, I do understand. For me, it's more about as a brand, they made this choice. They had a very I'm pretty sure that they had a very good legal protection to make these claims as well. However, it's just I just don't like Apple, I guess. That's my argument.
That aside, let's go on to maybe you like one of these two.
Tell me.
You a Big Mac person or a Whopper person?
Big Mac.
Okay. So there was this point at which McDonald's and Burger King were in a real petty feud.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, the Whopper outsold the Big Mac.
That's hard to believe, but okay.
Yeah, there was this one point that it happened in the U.S. and it was after a whole bunch of like Super Bowl ads, there's a whole bunch of that sort of stuff. And the year it outsold, Burger King decided to rub salt in the wound and say if customers come in and say Whopper beats the Big Mac, we'll give you a discount. And there was this ad, and it was famous, and people would come into the Burger King stores, and all they had to do was say that phrase, and they would get a discount, and sales went even higher.
I love this.
Yeah, so this was really smart on their part because nobody really cares about a rivalry like this, but then you get a discount on top of it just by engaging in the marketing. I'll say it for.
I would as well. I mean, whatever, as long as I get a discount.
And I think they kind of proved a point that not many people are like
loyal,
have an allegiance to McDonald's in that way. They think of it as like functional food that you can get at any point, and you'll be getting it in a stable way. Who's that economist? Rory something. He shows up in a lot of like YouTube shorts these days.
Don't remember.
But he's an English economist, and he made this argument that McDonald's doesn't do anything the best, but it does everything so averagely that you know what to expect.
Fair.
And you can rely on it. So people will just continuously buy McDonald's stuff. McDonald's is never the best meal you've had, but it'll never be bad. It was his point. It's just such a factory process.
Mm-hmm.
But the downside of that is that you have a lack of loyalty. If a Burger King can put out something at the same rate, you just have to make them say you like the Whopper better. And if they get a discount, they'll come and get it.
Yeah, brand loyalty is one of those things that I think back in 2019 and 2020, everyone started moving towards too, for a very simple reason that it's just a lot of competition and a lot of advertising that is going on. And loyalty and retention of customers becomes cheaper and much more long-term because you get used to it. And Apple, again, is a great example where they lock you into a ecosystem and everything works very well together. But as soon as you have to step out, it's not the same. It doesn't work. It's not your, common way of doing things. So a lot of companies, they still have to work on loyalty. However, there's so much choice now due to globalization, right?
Yeah.
And making it like the consumer kind of empowered. Yeah, consumers are kind of empowered because you can switch now to anything. There's so much replacement.
So I'm a slightly odd case for when I switched to Apple computers. I switched in 2011. Yeah. And I was in Pakistan at that time, where these were very, really expensive, but I needed something for design and copy work. And, these were just much better, for those. I know somebody's going to be like, oh, Windows something was around at that time. The thing is, I get told, oh, you just bought it because of that. I'm like, I was in Pakistan. There's no hype. Nobody used to use Apple over there. Literally, you were considered weird if you were walking around with a MacBook, I had no idea. It was just recommended by my university at that time that you need to practice on this. So like a year early, I was like, okay, all these, I better get used to these ones during A levels. So I bought a MacBook then, and I understand what you mean about being locked in, because this was the first computer which had the full backup software in there, and it recommends you to back it up constantly. And it'll work with other computers, but it won't work as well because it's all Apple software in there.
Yeah. Well,
so I was kind of locked into this for the next one. I'm like, well, I can't really bother relearning a whole bunch of new software, and I really can't make all these files transferable. Like I use Logic, for example, and all my music files are in Logic.
Yeah, so this is the convenience, but is enforcing loyalty actually loyalty?
But that's the thing; it isn't marketing.
That's a product marketing or a product engineering.
It's an engineering thing. It's not even marketing, honestly. It's a way of locking you in. Loyalty. I use that to make the point that I wasn't loyal to the marketing brand at all. If anything, I had a negative opinion of Apple stuff when I bought this, but it was recommended for my studies. So we went with it, and I had my other laptop as well, and I just did not open that HP laptop again after I properly switched over to this. There was a gulf in quality as well, but at that point, do you remember how bad laptops used to be 13 years ago?
Yes, I remember. Even now, the ThinkPad gives me shivers, man. Yeah. Because when I see some guy opening a ThinkPad on a train, I'm just having some sort of bad flashbacks. I'm like, this. I remember this stuff was exactly the same 15 years ago.
Yeah, and these were just much more consistent. Like it came down to just a standard level of quality that you could rely on.
Yeah, that's true. So I understand why people who are die-hard fans of Apple, they so respect it. Well, but because also they are loyal consumers as well.
But before I seem like I'm defending Apple too much, I'm making the McDonald's argument once again. It's consistent. It's not the best. You know what you're getting.
It's a good average.
Yeah, it's a good average. Like I buy these all the time, and I'm not like they're never frustrating, I would say.
They
can be if you're used to Windows.
I use Windows my whole life.
Yeah.
I have one good example of marketing anti-marketing situation. Have you heard of Cards Against Humanity?
Oh, yeah.
So I have two campaigns that they launched, which I love. One was called Holiday Hole. In 2016, they dug a pointless hole in the ground, funded by customer donations with no purpose other than spend the money of the donation. The second campaign they did was called Bullshit Sale. Sold actual boxes of excrement labeled as the Black Friday deal. So basically, these guys, in terms of branding, they always known for their irrelevant and sarcastic satirical humor. They also frequently launch anti-consumerism campaigns that mock traditional marketing. So with doing that, the impact was that actually these stunts, they generate massive media coverage and align with the brand identity, reinforcing loyalty among the target audience by just being this anti-marketing company.
Yeah, it's that's sort of on brand for them because the game is very ironic,
right?
Yeah, it's sort of like it's ironic and both really direct. Because I'm gonna riff on the game for a little bit because it ties into the company's style. The game is sort of like it understands that you're not throwing cards to like win a thing. You're throwing cards just to have that experience of fun, and may amuse each other. So that's all the game is. Nobody really cares about who wins in Cards Against Humanity. You're just trying to come up with the most shocking thing you can say. And the advertising feels like it's getting to the point. It's like, this is an ad. There's no deeper meaning. We're not trying to convey anything. There's a bluntness to the company's entire operation. But
I love this example as well, and I don't like it at the same time. I like that they can be so blunt with their brands kind of like messaging, and I don't like that you have to be so critical and radical, like so radical in marketing now to stand out. Because if you have two very nice products and you say they're both nice and ours maybe a little bit more nice, no one cares. As soon as you add this, shocker, or some, I also had like an impact when you have this cultural sensitivity or some sort of negative campaigning, or we're against traditional ways of branding, traditional ways of marketing. We're going to be culturally insensitive when our whatever, selling bullshit, bullshit sale, they called it, selling boxes on Black Friday deal to mock the discount week. So this also is kind of sad that you have to come up with these radical anti-insensitive brand campaigns to prove a point and to build your brand by people who are like, oh, I'm going to be a rebel and I'll go against the grain and then I'll support these guys. But then is that really?
I guess, but there is that sort of problem with irony where, like, if you try to be really ironic about something but also end up doing the thing, you're like, what was the point?
Yeah.
It's like, if you're trying to be really ironic and make a point about how cynical marketing is while actually doing a cynical marketing campaign, you kind of end up looking a bit like a hypocrite as well. But I don't know. I think that's always a danger with irony.
Yes. And also, have you heard of anti-marketing?
Yeah.
So irony is, how do you do anti-marketing campaigns? By doing marketing campaigns about anti-marketing. So use the, fire with fire. It's not going to help, but this is the only way of informing others, hey, consume less, while me going to spend a lot of money on social media to tell everyone by the normal traditional marketing channels to do something. So anti-marketing is done by doing marketing, which is kind of ridiculous. However, it is what it is. I have a few more examples. Do you know Brewdog?
Yeah, the beer?
Yes.
Yeah.
So these guys, they had two campaigns as well. Equity for punks. So they offered fans a chance to invest in the company directly, bypassing the traditional funding method. So they would be like co-owners of the company. And then they had Pink IPA. So this was released as a satirical beer to highlight gender pay gaps because the company's in UK. So they could piggyback on the political situation. So they built a cult following and expanded globally by becoming one of the UK's fastest growing food and drinks brands. And actually, they're Scottish, sorry. And it's a Scottish craft beer company. So they're very proactive in their marketing and public stunts. And they always challenge the industry, basically norms. The other one I have as an example, which I like actually a lot, is GoPro. GoPro and Red Bull, the way they position their brand, I think I love it just because, I don't know, it's probably my passion. If you go to any social media of Red Bull, you will not see a single Red Bull can, but you will see a lot of people doing some crazy extreme tricks and stuff that you really have to, like, it's extreme. Let's put it this way. But very inspirational. And the same for GoPro. GoPro whole branding is, hey, people, create content with our camera and we'll upload it on our social media channels. And the whole brand is about, how do you call it, user-generated content?
Yeah.
And everything from Red Bull is extreme. So pushing the limits. Never you're going to see on a GoPro, brands of a GoPro anywhere they kind of publishing or social media, you're never going to see a camera.
It's funny that where Red Bull is a more extreme version of where old Pepsi ads used to be. In the 2000s, they always used to be talking about Pepsi being Gen X and so on. And it would be like people skydiving.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I remember as a kid, because in Pakistan, we used to get like old ads just dubbed over.
Mhm.
And those campaigns are still like etched in my head. So Red Bull really captured that market in a way that's different. And I think that the reason they were able to do that is how they competitively positioned themselves as sort of extreme. They didn't market themselves even as an energy drink. They almost market themselves as a sort of amphetamine or a drug.
Energy.
Yeah, as like energy drink. And then like in certain countries, you're not even allowed to sell them to under 18.
That's true. Yeah.
Under 18. So I think nothing makes kids want to buy something more than if you're not allowed to buy it till you're 18.
I think it's in Germany. Germany, you go to a grocery store, say, hey, here's a beer and a energy drink. And they would ask you for your ID for the energy drink, but they would sell you the beer because the drinking age is 16. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's also, Red Bull has a very specific taste. It's not for everyone. I like it generally. But I can see why it would be off-putting to certain people because it's very acidic. So it's kind of strange that they've been the only viable competitor against Coca-Cola.
It's true. Who's the owner of Red Bull?
Oof, I don't know. It must be owned by Procter & Gamble or some other big company.
I don't know. This is a good one. I have to... Red Bull is an Austrian multinational private conglomerate company known as its range of energy drinks, the same under the same name. So no,
they're still self-owned. Good on them.
And apparently there's like one guy who's the owner, two guys.
Yeah, the name Red Bull was derived from sort of, what was it? It was the name of God, I'm waffling right now, but it had some sort of weird mystic relation as well. It's interesting that they're still privately owned and haven't been bought out by one of these gigantic companies.
Market share, 43% of the energy drink market in the world. This is crazy. Anyway, I have last one. This is the one you probably know. Have you heard of Oatly?
Oh, yeah. I like Oatly.
I like Oatly as well. Their campaign was called... It's like milk, but made for humans. So basically, the oatmeal company, they used bold, straightforward messaging, quirky outdoor ads, and sometimes sparking legal challenges with the dairy associations. So they positioned themselves as a disruptive force in the dairy industry, increasing brand awareness and sales by putting the social responsibility and sustainability factors. So people who care and can relate to the brand in terms of sustainability. Vegans were very big back then as well, I think, when they did these campaigns.
Yeah, it's front and center. On their packages, they advertise how much each carton saves the environment. You got a little word balloon in the corner of the...
I never paid attention.
Yeah, you can read how much carbon cutting happens every time you buy like a... Was it half a liter of Oatly?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they've divided their milk into 3 tiers as well.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The lightest blue one saves the most, but it kind of tastes the worst.
Wow. So they're like, we're going to make you believe you're doing a great thing by giving us money by drinking this diluted...
Not diluted. That one you have to shake a lot more. But it's pretty good still. And like, I don't think it's bad. I'm somebody who doesn't like milk on its own. So oat milk has been great for me.
No, fair enough. But the positioning, right? The brand itself, what it stands for is sustainability. And
it is trying to like compare itself to the rest of the dairy industry. Well, this isn't technically dairy even. You know about that thing
it's made by humans.
In Europe, you can't legally call it milk.
Fair. Nut juice.
Milk alternative drink or something.
What do they call it? Nut juice. That's literally what it is.
So I wanted to give some background since we've discussed all of these, because I can't do anything without looking at a study. So I've got this study here that investigates how brand responses to competitors' advertising actions change across business cycles. So in an empirical analysis of advertising activity of 105 brands in 6 consumer packaged goods categories over 10 years in a market that experienced severe economic swings, we show that managers become more aggressive in contractions. So whenever there's like an economic downturn, brand advertising instantly gets more competitive.
Hmm.
So there's an actual psychological association between those things. Brands get more fierce with each other.
I think because if the economical situation goes down, you have to fight for the place in the market, right? So you'd have to kind of push out the competitor, and the more aggressive and the more money you spend on it to kind of get the market share.
Yeah. It's also stunts become more useful
Mm-hmm.
when you're during an economic downturn because you're suddenly like, we can't market ourselves on fun and joy. We got to do an attention grabbing stunt. And the other thing is, people have less disposable income, so you're gonna have to shoot down their alternatives more than you go to like prop yourself up.
That's also a good point. And you do it more aggressively so people can stick with what you're selling.
Yeah, it's just more memorable to like insult the other guy.
This is what I don't like. However, I've seen some ads even in the Netherlands. They would compare grocery stores like Albert Heijn and Jumbo. They would like have, look, there was an ad of a price list of the same products or something like that, which was a little bit weird, but I'm totally against this like pointing fingers.
Yeah, it's fine when like consumers do it amongst themselves. That's more handy. But like if you buy it like the Albert Heijn or the Jumbo over here, Jumbo costs more, but they're not as big. But like you don't see Walmart doing that stuff. It's only these big brands fighting amongst themselves.
What do you think about aggressive brand positioning? Like we just had about the Cards Against Humanity or Oatly.
I think it can get the same issue that I talked about before, where irony has like a double-edged sword. If it becomes too ironic, but you're actually engaging in the thing you're making fun of, it's like, look how irreverent I am about the fact that I'm doing marketing. Yeah, but you're still doing. You can't make fun of the action you're doing. That's one issue that I have with it. It can be fun when it's actually like cool. When you make a sort of a point to like, oh, most companies talk about social responsibility here. If you buy our things for this amount of time, we're going to donate this much to charity and actually do it. That version is more interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like where you're like, okay, I'll put my money in my mouth. This isn't just a marketing campaign. It'll actually contribute.
The brand stands behind what they say.
Yeah. And not in the sort of, oh, look, we hired a celebrity who represents a cause kind of way. I mean, the actual giving to charity kind of way.
Yes, like a money glitch, money glitch trick.
But either way, yeah, what do you think about the pros and cons of comparative advertising? And we'll end with that, I guess.
I don't like that we have to keep pushing it to new heights and new extremes and making this so point the fingers, be radical, as you said as well. Where is it going to end? When everyone is going to be doing the same thing, the novelty and the wow factor and the cringe is going to basically level out into a McDonald's medium Big Mac taste. And then everyone's going to be trying to be the best, the most, insensitive, the most radical, the most standout-ish. And then nothing's going to matter, I guess. So that's what I'm waiting for. This will come, or I just feel people will stop caring. They would just stick to what they know, and the bigger corporations will become more rich because people will just continue using the MacBooks and the iPhones that they did use 20 years, 30 years ago. Because imagine when you're old, when you're 70, you're like, 50 years ago, I got my first MacBook and I'm still on a MacBook. And I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. And not because of brand loyalty, just because the decision fatigue. And it's not because the brand you can relate to, just because you're used to it.
I'll put it this way. I think comparative advertising is nice when it's fun and quirky.
Until you have a million competitors.
If they insult like the other company or the product or the other team somehow,
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, I don't know what we're doing here. That just seems distasteful. But there used to be this Coke versus Pepsi ad where I might be confusing which one it is, but a kid goes, hey, you can't reach the top button. And basically, he buys 2 Pepsis, stands on top of them to buy it.
I've seen that one. That is so good.
That's kind of clever.
Yes.
Stuff like that is kind of cheeky and, poking the bear a little bit. What I don't like is when you just slap the other person in the face and you're like, "Here, look at our prices, so much better." No, no, don't go there. That comes off not just like kind of weirdly insulting, and it comes off desperate.
Yeah, as well. It could be. Yes, I agree with you. So that's where I like the creativity. How far is it going to go? That's my question. I have an answer to it. However, I'm just waiting for the moment where everyone's going to be doing exactly the same thing as everyone else.
Yep. No. So when the next economic downturn happens, you'll be seeing a lot more angry ads, apparently. Keep an eye out for that.
Indeed. So thank you, everyone. This was episode 13 about competitive branding and marketing. And next time, I don't know what's going to be the topic, but we will figure out. However, what I saw as well now, we do get more and more comments on YouTube and TikTok as well. And they're actually, the last ones I saw in the last 10 videos were not even insulting. They were actually pretty on point. So I'm quite happy
discussing the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw on YouTube, we were getting views consistent. I think we actually surpassed 30,000 views in total on YouTube.
Yeah.
And on TikTok, we have 95 videos. That's crazy.
That's pretty good.
So if anyone's still here and listening, please follow, like, and...
hit that bell, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no.
Become. What have we become?
Amen. Okay, everyone. Enjoy your day. Have a nice one.
Signing off.
Ciao, ciao.